Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by on for this new video course, completely free today. So we are going to talk about job interviews today. Job interviews, because this is so important. There's so many of my private clients, my coaching clients that are, that come to me after failing at so many interviews. I speak to so many friends, and usually what I realize is that people have no clue on how to prepare interviews. So one of the things that usually people do is that before a job interview, they go and have a look online. Online, what they see is truly just an amazing amount of blogs, articles, obviously, with 21 trick question, or you must answer well, and make sure you prepare these key questions, etc., etc. But the point, the very basic element of why the employer asks the question is completely absent from most blogs, and I want to change this. Obviously, there's a methodology that I use. It's called the 5 S's method that I want to talk to you about. The 5 S's method is literally everything you can expect from a job interview. The moment you realize that, the moment you say to yourself, hey, you know what? That's awesome. And now know what's going to happen in the job interview, because that's the number one problem of everyone. They want to obviously, predict the employer's interviews, and they can't, because the employer's interview questions, and they can't. So usually what people do is that they prepare a random list of questions, the best ones they can, and they hope that they have prepared for the interview. And with the 5 S's, you're never going to look back again, because this is the framework for every single job interview you will ever come across. Trust me on this. So essentially, I wanted to start by saying that employers and job seekers are from 2 different planets. And I mean that. Really 2 different planets. They think differently. Their perspective is different. See, for an employer or for a job seeker, the most important thing for his job search, for his job hunt, is speed. He wants to find a great job as soon as possible. And especially so if you are unemployed. If you're unemployed, your number one challenge is time. The longer you are unemployed, the less, obviously, the more risky for you it becomes financially, etc., etc. So with employers, and sometimes we are frustrated because employers don't get back to us very quickly. With employers, that's because time is not their number one challenge. Their number one challenge is risk of hiring the wrong person. So they take their time. So you see, 2 different perspectives. They take their time because they're thinking, hey, the more I interview people, the more choice I have, the less risk I have. The longer the interview process, the more I wait for more CVs, the more I have a chance to speak internally about the different profiles and to take my time. And that's really important. So these are the 2 different planets. And this is, once you understand this, you've got to switch into employer's mindset, because the moment you start thinking like an employer, you're going to be able to prepare an interview the right way. Unfortunately, with most job seekers and, those who will not watch the video is going to be the case, they go on Google. As soon as they have an interview, they go on Google and they type in interview question for IT manager roles, etc., etc. So that's not what you want to do, because what you want to think is, hang on, if I'm an employer, I'm scared, anxious, worried that this person is going to be a waste of my time, my money, and it's going to be a mistake, a hiring mistake. As an employer myself, I can tell you that the biggest problem of business is not necessarily competition, the economy, or whatever. It's hiring mistakes. If we put the right people on the bus, this is like taking a head start on success. It's absolutely amazing. And the biggest source of, losses that I've made, financial and everything, is through hiring the wrong people or keeping the wrong people sometimes, but that's another topic. So that's, employees are the number one cost center of every single company, most companies. Okay, so you've got to keep this in mind. So there are 5 S's that you will be tested on, regardless to where you interview, with whom, which industry, which job sector, it doesn't matter. There are 5 S's that you will be tested on no matter what. The first S is the stability S. S for stability, because this is where employers will be looking at, you know, if you've left an employer, for example, previously, before you complete, say, 1 year, they will want to know why you left that employer. Why is that? Because they just don't want the same thing to happen to them. And, you know, remember, his mindset is a mindset of someone that's anxious, worried. He wants to be reassured. So he's going to ask you a lot of stability-based questions. And stability-based questions are anything that would reassure him that you will be loyal to the company, that you will be a good investment in the long term, or anything that would highlight a potential risk that you might leave this person after 6 months, for example. Either you're not good or for the role, or you just are very much money driven, for example. So typical questions are, why did you leave this employer? Even if it's been 2 or 3 years, why did you leave this employer? If you say, for example, that, well, the company was not very professional, my employer, my manager is he's younger than me, he's not very, he's not as experienced as I am. Immediately what I'm detecting is problems. And you know what? That's not appealing to me. I don't want to know, because I know that this is only his version, and I'm not going to believe him or her. I'm just going to extrapolate and say, would I want someone to speak this way about my company? Apparently he wasn't able to get on with his manager. Would I want someone that doesn't get on with his manager? Is he going to stay? See, and because we don't understand the purpose of stability, why people ask us so and such question, we actually answer without knowing how to answer. So we answer a bit naively. Typical question as well is, where do you want to be in 5 years? If in 5 years' time, people want to change their career, people want to move to other industries or whatever, then obviously I will be thinking about stability. If in 5 years' time, people want to live in a different country or whatever, then again, I will be thinking about stability. Anything that would lead me to, either be reassured or, be convinced that you're not going to stay in my job is important to me as an employer. So stability is the number one type of S that you got to reassure the employer on. Okay, so make sure that when you ask the question, make sure it's not a stability question. Very, very important. Okay, so the second S is really the skills. Now, the skills is, obviously your skill set for the job. So these are technical questions. How would you do that? Have you ever done this? Have you ever done that? Tell me about your experience in this. How would you handle that? How would you handle this? So you see, it's straight questions about if you can do the job, but it's also scenario-based questions. So imagine if you had to do that, how would you do it? So the step by step. And this is supposed to highlight, obviously, it's made to highlight, the purpose is to really highlight your skill set for the role. And that's very, very important. What I would advise here is that you don't answer by, well, I would do this way if you asked me to do this, because that's weak. That's weak because you didn't give them an example. I would highly, highly advise you to always give an example. So, hey, how would you imagine if you had a customer that did this and that? How would you handle that? Well, this is actually what happened to me once when I was working at DDD. The challenge was that the customer wanted this and that. So one of the things that I did was this and that and this and that. And then I also did this and I sent them this and I spoke to him and I spoke to her. At the end, I was able to convince that customer that this and this and that. So not only have I explained how I would do it, but on top of it, I have given an example. It's the same as, hey, do you have any experience in Java programming? Yes, I've been doing so for the past 12 years, around 22 projects. So number one, you see, I'm quantifying my experience. But on top of this, I'm also going to give an example. In fact, the last time I had to do that, I had to do a Java project was just 3 months ago, actually, and then I go ahead with my example. It's very important that they always project themselves into a real life situation. Just invite them to see you at work, okay? Tell them a story. That's very, very much what I highly advise on the S of skills, okay? Now, the third S is really the soft skills. And you see, the soft skills is going to be something that people are going to analyze, your employers, recruiters are going to analyze as you explain things. As you explain things, they're going to say, see, he's a problem solver. See, he wasn't able to learn from his mistake here. And it's very much about what you say and how you say it. So be aware that the third S that they will be looking at is your soft skills. So the core, really the core soft skills that you have to keep in mind is problem solving and ability to learn, especially from mistakes. You see, oftentimes there are a few questions about that are supposed to sort of highlight the soft skills, like tell me about one of your areas of improvement or your strengths and weaknesses. These are not trap questions. These are just here to highlight your soft skills. So, for example, if I say, well, I'm a little bit disorganized sometimes, it's okay. It's okay if what I say is not a key skill for the job I'm applying to. So if I say I'm disorganized and I'm applying for a personal assistant or executive secretary role, that's, a problem. But if I say I'm disorganized and if I'm in sales, for example, well, it doesn't disqualify me, okay? What's important, though, is what am I doing in order to tackle that? So, for example, I'm disorganized. I've been told I'm disorganized by my previous manager. So what I've been doing is, for example, reading a few books. My favorite book on the topic of organization is this and that. And, I've been putting in place a few systems, like, for example, this and that, and also this and that. And I use every Thursday to actually clean up absolutely everything. Do a weekly cleanup because that helps me, start afresh the following week, etc., etc. So I'm explaining how I'm actually solving this problem, how I'm learning from, a problem that I have as well. So you see what I'm saying is, yes, my area of improvement is this, the fact that I'm disorganized sometimes, but look at what I'm already putting in place. And the final result is that, I'm not, this is not so much of a problem now because I got used to do all of these things. But it's definitely something that I keep in mind that could become a weakness again, or that sometimes, comes back as a weakness when I'm very, very busy. So it's something that I keep on track. I know that this is one area that I want to make sure I always improve. So you see, from I'm disorganized, I didn't just answer to the question. I gave them an example of how I'm tackling this weakness and what I'm doing in order to make sure this weakness doesn't interfere in the delivery of my work. Okay, and that's very, very important. So you see, soft skills is always something that they are going to analyze. Not necessarily, one of my weaknesses is that I'm disorganized. Now, if you just say that, that's not good. That's not good. What's important is how you deal with the problem. Remember, sometimes employers and recruiters will ask for problems. So one of my favorite questions, for example, at a job interview would be, tell me about the most challenging customers you've ever had to deal with. Because I want to see if they go into a mode where they just blame the customer, they just say, oh, she was horrible. Yeah, that was the worst experience. Well, you know what? Something tells me that this person didn't find a solution for that. She didn't, she blamed the customer and she didn't take any responsibility. All of this is me analyzing and saying, no, that's not the soft skills that I want. I want someone that takes on responsibility, that understands the customer, and that provides a solution. You see, I asked you to choose your own story, and you chose a story where there's no solution. Bad sign. Remember the third S, soft skills. Okay. Now, in regards to the fourth S, that's success, because that's what we're looking for. You see, a lot of people think that you're just looking for someone that does something. No, the job description is a series of tasks and responsibilities, duties basically for the role, but the ultimate purpose is the result that the employer wants to get. So if you're not able to bring light on some of your success, some of your results, some of your achievements, but not in a point of view of the job seeker. You see, oftentimes people confuse what success means. So for example, hey, what's your biggest achievement? Well, my biggest achievement is that, I was able to learn how to use SAP in less than 3 months. Good for you. But that doesn't change anything for the employer. If you say that your biggest achievement, for example, was that you were the top performing blah, blah, blah employee, or you won the Employee of the Month award, 6 times in the last 12 months, then this is related to what the employer gets in exchange. This is an achievement for the employer, because if he's the Employee of the Month, it means that he's producing a super satisfactory job in comparison to the rest of his team members. So that's what I want. I want something that's connected to a result for the company. Okay, so if your best achievement is to turn around a very difficult customer and manage to get him to become one of our top 5 customers in less than 6 months, who wins? The employer. That's what I call a success or an achievement. Not that you were able to adapt to this, or that's your problem. No one cares. So sorry, but it's true. Okay, success is really what you've been able to produce through your job for your employers. Okay, it's the results. So there's always, 2 nurses, 2 sales people, 2 marketing officers, 2 IT managers. But the difference is always going to be in what? In the achievements. This is how you're going to create a gap between you and your competition. This is the fourth S that, employers and recruiters are looking for. And this is very, very important. Okay. Success. Please remember success. And finally, of course, the fifth S, you might have guessed, is salary. Salary is what needs to be discussed at some point, either the first interview, second or third, but at some point, the salary needs to be discussed. Now, I want to tell you a couple of things about the salary. Sometimes HR personnel and recruiters, or sometimes even employers, line managers, ask you, what's your current salary? This is not their business. Don't fall into this trap, because you see, if I'm earning, let's say $2,000 a month, if I'm applying to a role that I know would pay $3,500, if I say $2,000, they might offer me $2,500, $2,300. And that's not what I want. Do you understand that? That's not what I want. I want them to sort of evaluate or sort of put you in the higher end of the bracket. So if you show your cards, that's not fair. And the way you say this is that, remember that you have signed an agreement. You're actually not allowed to reveal your salary to anyone. You're not allowed to reveal it to your colleagues. It's somewhere in your employment contract, in your company policy. You're not allowed, because this is confidential information. But when it comes to revealing it to people outside of the company, that's a breach of contract. This is, your salary is actually for the company, a confidential, very, very secretive, confidential information. You don't want, in my company, I don't want my competitors to know the salaries of my employees, because they could headhunt them. they could headhunt them. It's easy to know. If I know that this person earns whatever, I know that if I have a budget of, 25, 50% more, I can approach these employees. So you don't want to reveal your current salary, period. It's on the contract, and you just say that. You just look at him in the eye and say, that's actually the only thing that I can't reveal, unfortunately. My employer made me sign a contract that, I'm not allowed to share my compensation, as this is classified as super confidential for the company. So unless he gives you his approval, I don't want to have any legal, but it's part of our, a part of our policy, part of our process. Yeah, no, like I said, look, I respect your process, of course, but between your process and some sort of legal actions that my employer can take, against me, I would obviously want to respect my employer's confidentiality, if that's okay. But you can contact him, and I'm okay. If he gives it to you, I'm okay. I can tell you that, you can deal, but I know this is confidential information. So, and then he might ask you for your expected salary. Now, your expected salary, again, you're dead if you just say a number. Don't say a number. Don't say a number. If let's say his budget is 3,500, and you say, well, I think I expect something around 2,800. You just lost so much money. What if he says yes, and 6 months later you find out that someone new came at 3,100? It's your fault. It's not your employer that's treating you differently. You must prepare for this. Of course, you can always, get in touch with me if you want my help on salary negotiation or anything. But salary negotiation is usually around 3 to 5 minutes. But this is the best investment you could ever make, because with these 3 to 5 minutes, you'll be earning an extra amount of money every single month for the foreseeable future. 3 to 5 minutes. No investment in the world is better than that. Knowing how to negotiate your salary makes money in the long run. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, and that's pretty much it. So in summary, what do we have? We have 5 S's. We said that stability is really about why did you leave that employer and where are you going. We said the skills is really, can you do this? How would you do that? Etc., etc. Look at the job description, the JD. The soft skills is really a strengths and weaknesses, of course, but it's general observation throughout the interview and the case scenarios, the sort of situation-based questions. Okay, so imagine if you had to deal with this, how would you do that? That's where I'm going to analyze your soft skills, how you think, your attitude, etc., etc. If you blame others or take responsibility. Remember, I told you that there are 2 key, common soft skills that employees love, and it's really universal. It's problem-solving skills, someone that's not going to always ask the manager for a solution, but is actually going to think, be creative, innovate, find a solution, and someone that can learn from his mistakes, okay? The problem is not to do mistakes. The problem is that when people don't learn from their mistakes, we feel this is a waste of money, waste of investment, okay? We want people to do a mistake, okay, fine, everyone loses, but at least that money, that time is spent so that this person won't do the mistake again. Learning ability. And the third, I would say, is taking responsibility. If at any point in time in the interview, you mention things like, it wasn't my fault, it was my employers, it was the client, it was my colleagues, that is a no-go, even if it's true. Even if it's true. That is a no-go. Taking responsibility is the proof for me that this person can learn and will not start blaming and pointing fingers at people, okay? Soft skills. So 4 is success. The past results for your employers, very, very important. And finally, the salary. Make sure you do your research before you negotiate the salary. It's very, very important, because the truth is most people go to job interviews without doing research. They think that they should be paid that much, but they don't know the data of the market. So what's important is you go on Google, salary.com, payscale.com, type in salary survey, or salary guide, and then the city you're in, etc., etc. You'll find tons of things. Go prepared for that, okay? Don't ask a random salary or an expectation, your salary expectation based on your needs. Ask it based on the market, because you will have a common ground, okay, with the employer, because the employer is also supposed to know the market. If the employer challenges you on, no, actually, this is not the market, we offer what's on the market, you're way above the market, because you've done the research, you can actually show him your research. You can actually say, well, this is a website that actually does that. This is the second website. This is the third website. And as you can see, the average salary is. So you see, this is how people make more money than others. They actually prepare. And that's the type of work we do, obviously, when people prepare their job interview with myself. And that's pretty much it. I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that you're gonna be. Oh, by the way, if you are going through a headhunter, a recruitment agent that's representing you with one of his clients, if you don't feel like answering the salary question, it's okay to say, actually, I would prefer you speak to the recruiter that's representing me for that. I spoke to him at length about that, and I would prefer if everything is centralized on that side, everything is centralized with him, if that's okay with you. Usually people will be okay. Why would that be also a good strategy? Well, that's because recruiters are supposed to know. Now, unfortunately, I've had a lot of private clients in coaching where they were dealing with recruiters, and recruiters were scared to negotiate salary with their client, and we had to take take over basically that part. But to be honest with you, recruiters should be doing a good job on this. If you feel that the recruiter will not negotiate, will be afraid, etc., obviously you can speak to me. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Listen, if you have any question, please leave a comment and I will try to answer it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So you just go to YouTube and you look for Name Your Career. And that's pretty much it. Feel free to share this video, guys. We're going to remove it from the group. So share it as much as you can now and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because this is where we're going to be keeping all of our videos. And I hope this was helpful. Good luck for your interviews, whether you have them now or in the future. Good luck, because every single interview is an opportunity to sort of work with amazing people, with inspiring managers, to boost your career. Every single interview is such an amazing opportunity. So good luck with that, guys. I hope this was helpful. Now you know why employers ask such and such question. There's no such thing as trap questions. This is these articles that we see online are just doing a heading. So I thought I'll do a video about this. There's no trap question. There's none of this. They're not here to trap you. They're here to really understand those 5 elements that are actually going to make them progress with you or not. Okay. So hopefully now you know, and every time you are asked a question, just make sure you categorize it. Make sure you say, that's probably a soft skills question. What did Hamza say? Oh yeah, problem solving, learning ability, and taking responsibility. Okay, cool. That's probably a stability question. Let me give him a reassuring answer on why, I didn't stay and etc. etc. That's the idea, guys. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, and that's pretty much it. I think. Thank you very much once again, and please share, leave a comment. I look forward to read your comment and speak soon. Bye bye.